Coming up on The Local Traveler, we check out 2 distilleries in Kentucky that each have historical connections to the Bluegrass State. One distillery makes award-winning aged spirits, while the other uses a long-time family recipe to make unaged spirits. Although produced differently, they're both deeply rooted in Kentucky's narrative. Don't miss this spirited episode. It's all coming up on The Local Traveler. Kentucky is known as the birthplace of bourbon thanks to a natural supply of limestone water and the perfect climate conditions. It takes its name from Bourbon County, once the major shipping site for spirits headed down the Ohio and Mississippi rivers to New Orleans. Today, the Bluegrass State crafts about 95% of the bourbon made worldwide. Ranging from craft distillers to the world's largest producers, there are currently 14 distilleries in Kentucky. To learn more about the history of America's native spirit, you can visit places like Woodford Reserve, the oldest distillery still in operation, or Evan Williams, Kentucky's first commercial distiller. Many distilleries give unique tours, like hand-dipping your own bottle at Maker's Mark, or discovering the Decanter Museum at Jim Beam. Some Kentucky distilleries have expansive properties, like Buffalo Trace. Credited as being the world's most award-winning distillery, this place is better known as a campus, boasting 440 acres. Every distillery has distinctive features, but they all offer a taste of Kentucky history. Today, we're visiting the oldest fully operational distillery in the bourbon capital of the world. Not only are we going to get to learn more about their award-winning products, but we'll also get hands-on with the barrels and the bourbon-making process. Established in 1870, this family-owned distillery is quaintly situated on 196 acres, which includes 29 barrel-aging warehouses, 22 buildings, an impressive still house, and the legendary Tom Moore Spring. Barton's 1792 is steeped in Kentucky history, which includes incorporating the year Kentucky became a state into its name. Championing the Commonwealth even further, they're powered by 50 tons of low-sulfur Eastern Kentucky coal daily and are located in Bardstown, the heart of Bourbon County. They also happen to know a thing or two about producing top-notch bourbon. Their Barton 1792 brand was the best of category winner at the 2014 Los Angeles International Wine and Spirits Competition. I'm here today with Josh Hollyfield, and he is the Visitor Center Manager at Barton 1792 Distillery. Thanks for having us out today.
It's a pleasure to have you. I'm glad you could make it.
Well, I'm excited. We're actually in a pretty cool building. I mean, this row of barrels behind you is pretty compelling. Talk to me about where we are.
We're in Warehouse H, which is one of our 28 traditional warehouses. This warehouse was built in around 1937, is where we believe. Holds 19,600 barrels. It's probably about 80% full right now, and it's just where we age our prize-winning bourbon.
Well, that's true. You do have prize-winning bourbon, and you're right in Bardstown, Kentucky.
Bourbon capital of the world.
Right, and this is one of the oldest continuously operating distilleries.
Yes, it is. We've been here since 1879. We know there's a distillery on this property since then. Our current distillery has been operational since at least 1889. Rebuilt it in the 1940s after a fire that we had, but we've been distilling ever since.
Well, yeah, and you don't even realize, at least I didn't, driving by, you can see it from the road, but man, you get in here and there's a lot to see. Absolutely.
You can see 3 or 4 warehouses from the road, but we're on 196 acres, which goes, over a mile back. So we're quite a bit of property here, a lot of room for bourbon.
Well, talk to me about the different products that you make here.
We make 8 different bourbons here, ranging the whole scale as far as price range. We make 10 High, Kentucky Gentleman, Colonel Lee, Tom Moore, Zachariah Harris, Kentucky Tavern, Very Old Barton, and then of course 1792.
That's right, and that is definitely the one that people really kind of recognize you for.
It is. It's marketed in all 50 states. It's very well distributed. It's our high-end bourbon, but it's still very affordable. And we've done some new additions to it here recently with our port finish, our sweet wheat, and just recently our single barrel. We're continuing to grow, and we like to think that we have a lot to offer here in Bardstown.
You do, and you have 3 different tours that you offer here.
We do. We have a short tour, which we call the Barton Tradition Tour, which you'll see the distillery, the aging warehouse, and then of course end up in the tasting. It'll only last about 45 minutes to an hour, so it's great for a stop-in tour. If you're looking for something a little bit more in-depth, we have the bushel to bottle, which does everything that the Tradition Tour does, but we add the bottling lines and maybe a little bit more in-depth in the distillery. That lasts about a little over an hour, about an hour and 15 minutes. And of course, it ends with the tasting. Now, if you're really wanting to get into bourbon and know all the nuts and bolts, we have the 1792 Estate Tour. At that point, it's a motorized tour. It takes about 2 hours. You'll see the distillery, you'll see an aging warehouse like this one. Also our palletized warehouse, see the barrels filled and dumped, as well as our bottling line. It takes about 2 hours. You'll see all 196 acres of our property. So for the bourbon enthusiast, that's where you want to go.
That's right, that's the in-depth tour.
Yeah,
that's really
absolutely.
getting into the nuts and the bolts.
And a great thing about a tour is no matter which tour you take, they're all free.
I know, I read that and I thought that's wonderful. I mean, especially for someone who's wanting to come to Bardstown and kind of see the whole town and see what all's offered here. What a great stop. Something else that I love that you all have that's really notable that other places can't claim is you have the world's largest bourbon barrel.
We do have the world's largest bourbon barrel. Not to be confused with the world's largest barrel. This is the world's largest bourbon barrel. It sits right here on our property. It is, I believe, 15 feet tall. So you'll definitely have to check that out. It's a nice kind of stop and take a picture on your way in or your way out.
Well, and also on the tour you mentioned there's a palletized warehouse.
Yes.
And that's the world's largest too, isn't it?
We believe. We haven't really verified that, but it'll hold about 80,000 barrels completely full. It's a little bit different way. Instead of the barrels being on the side like you see them here, they're up on the end, and we 9 barrels per pallet, and we stack them end on end, which we're playing around with. There's a lot of barrels up there.
Well, I'm excited to take a tour with you and kind of see what all is offered.
All right.
On a Barton 1792 tour, visitors will see firsthand the inner workings of bourbon. In addition to producing their own brands, they also bottle and store other spirits here as well. Each tour begins and ends in the visitor center, where guests can purchase unique souvenirs and try samples of very old Barton, small batch 1792, and chocolate bourbon ball cream liqueur. You can even sample a bourbon ball made by our friends at Muth's Candies. These little confections use 100 proof very old Barton bourbon for a sophisticated flavor and unique texture. I can honestly say it's a tasty experience. Although any tour at Barton's 1792 distillery is enough to satisfy, the city of Bardstown has even more to show you. It was named the most beautiful small town in America by USA Today and offers loads of other tourism draws. When we come back, we travel from one small town to another to check out a different kind of distilling, which also has historical roots in Kentucky. It's all coming up after the break. Today we visited Barton's 1792 distillery to learn more about its Kentucky connections and taste their award-winning bourbon. The Bluegrass State knows a thing or two about distilling. Next we travel 200 miles east from Bardstown to Whitesburg. This eastern Kentucky city is nestled at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains and has a new tourism draw. Kentucky Mist Moonshine may be a brand new distillery, but it's steeped in time-honored traditions. Moonshine has long been intertwined with Kentucky culture, particularly in the eastern region. In the late 1800s, Kentucky earned a national reputation for being the home of top-grade moonshine making. For many, it was a family affair before the 1919 National Prohibition Act, and became a way to survive after it was passed. Today, moonshine is seeing a resurgence in our state thanks to Kentucky Mist, Letcher County's first legal moonshine producer. We're here today at Kentucky Mist Moonshine. I'm talking with Colin Fultz, and he is the owner, distiller. You pretty much do everything. You run the whole show here, really.
Yeah, it's great. We've been here since September the 23rd. We opened the door, so it's really good.
Well, I think people are excited about you being here. I hear lots of things about people in the community, and just you've gotten some write-ups, and you're getting people from outside of Whitesburg too, right?
Yeah, a lot of tourists coming in, and people's family will come in, and then they'll come here and see us. So we get a lot of people from all over the United States and even out of country. So if they're here for something and they're close, they usually come by. We get a lot of people from Lexington, and they'll drive up for the day, and you know, it's good tourism for the city, and we're just glad to do anything we can to help the economy out.
And what I love about it is that not only do they get a cool product, I mean, you know, Kentucky moonshine, and they can sample all that, but they can also shop in your gift shop, and you have lots of artisans on display here.
Yeah, we have people that do some artwork, paintings, basket making, soaps, local soaps, just a little bit of everything. My daughter even makes some candy and sells it in the distillery, so that's pretty neat.
That's great. Well, yeah, it is a family affair, right? It started with your grandfather.
My grandfather, yeah, he made moonshine and sold moonshine illegally and spent a lot of time in prison over it. So I didn't want to go to prison over it. I wanted to make it. I just didn't want to go to prison over it. He was sentenced at Whitesburg at the courthouse to do some of his time. And actually in October, I was actually serving moonshine on the courthouse steps. So
wow.
That was pretty neat.
Well, talk to me about your moonshine. I know it's a little bit different, just kind of the way that you're distilling it. You actually have a filter, right, process?
What we do is we take fruit and soak it in moonshine. And so when you taste strawberry, it's actually strawberry you're tasting, or blackberry or peach. So when you try that, you know, it's just like you're tasting the fruit with the moonshine. So, and most people just, you know, they'll buy the alcohol and flavor it. So, but everything here is made here, so from scratch. So we start with nothing and make it into moonshine.
Now, do you have different vats for each thing?
Yeah, we've got certain vats that we use to make the fruit with that's got doors so we can get the fruit out. It's real difficult when you're making something like the fruit or the corn. The vodka stuff's pretty easy. We can use any vat for that. But when we're making the fruits, you know, we want to separate the fruit from the alcohol, so that's difficult. But I really didn't go to any other distilleries to try to do like they're doing. I actually had the guy that made all the stainless steel, he come in and watched what I was doing in my garage and kind of scaled it up. So everything's our own special design, from how we separate the fruit to the tanks that we store it in. So
that's great. So it's definitely in your blood, the moonshine, all the way from your grandfather, and then they were able to customize the system based on what you were doing.
Everything is made custom for us here at the distillery for what we use it for.
Well, I'm excited to taste some. I understand we have a tasting set up.
Oh, we do.
With a whole like Skittles rainbow of colors and flavors.
We're going to try everything. We'll let you try everything. Hopefully you'll be all right to make it home.
Colin's moonshine tradition can trace its roots back to his grandfather, Henry Holbrook. During the difficult days of Prohibition and a hard economy, bootlegging moonshine became a way to make a living. Eventually, Henry was caught illegally making the distilled corn liquor and served time in a federal penitentiary. While there, he met and befriended fellow bootlegger Al Capone. 70 years later, his grandson Colin renewed the Holbrook family tradition by creating Kentucky Mist Moonshine. Although he's still using the same trade secrets and recipes passed down from generations, there is one thing he did change. This moonshine is legal. And considering this craft unaged spirit is flavored naturally with local fruit, this local traveler is all in. Well, we're going to try a few. Talk to me about what we're going to try first.
All right, the first one we're going to try is traditional moonshine. It's corn whiskey, so this one's going to be the strongest that we make. It's 100 proof.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Start with the big guy, right?
Cheers.
Cheers. It is definitely strong, but it's smooth.
It's smooth, yeah.
Really smooth.
So you can taste the corn, and it kind of, on the back of your tongue, you can taste the
I mean, it's
flavors.
definitely got, some potency, but it's not like burning like you would expect for it to. It's really smooth. Yeah.
All right, the next one we got is peach. So we use peaches, real peaches, to make it. And we soak it in mist, which is the 100 proof we have here. So I'll let you try this one.
Okay.
And this one's 80 proof.
Okay. Oh gosh. Really good. Oh my goodness.
So you can taste the real peaches in it. It's more
you really can. That's like dessert almost. That's like dessert with a little punch.
Yeah, it's really good.
With so many delicious flavors to choose from, it might be hard to pick a favorite. This Appalachian Proud distillery packs a lot of flavor into these spirit-filled mason jars. You can really taste the Holbrook family legacy soaked into the moonshine itself. But there's other family connections also waiting to be explored. Colin's daughter sells colorful candy, and his aunt sells hand-woven baskets, both on display in the gift shop. But the distillery store is not just reserved for Colin's kinfolk. They sell all kinds of locally made arts, crafts, and food items. As you can see from our tours today, distilling in Kentucky has a rich and delicious heritage. It also has a big financial impact on the state and is great for tourism. Back in 2014, the total bourbon inventory was estimated at 5.6 million barrels, which means there were 1 million more barrels than people in the Commonwealth. With delicious samples of bourbon and moonshine just waiting for you, make sure and add Barton 1792 and Kentucky Mist Moonshine to your Local Travelers list.